Alrighty, guys. This is episode 5 of Movies and Minutes here in 2024, and we got our inaugural guest from season 1 back. He's a hard man to pin down, but we
I
got
am
him. It's Tom. Tom, how you doing tonight?
good. How are you guys? I'm doing
Is it
well.
is it really tonight? I mean, like it's 4:30 where we are.
That's close enough, you know. It's after work,
Okay. Early evening, perhaps.
early evening.
That's fair. So last year when I had people on when we would start, I would kind of ask them like, "Hey, what kind of like what genre of films do you like?" So we get a sense for, what your viewing history is. Season 2, we're doing something a little different, which is more like, "Hey, between then and now, was there anything that you saw that really like stood out for you?" I mean, which is funny too because like this year I started the podcast like right in January last year. I hadn't come up with it until like March, but it's about a year, since I had John.
Yep.
So did anything stand out between the majority of 23 and or the early part of 24 for you?
It's interesting. I think that going to
The
the
best,
movies as a whole,
yeah.
you go for it. You go.
Well, I was gonna say the best way to answer this question, right, is don't think too hard about it. It's like when you look in your mind and you see a title pop out, that's when you know it's probably the right answer. But go ahead.
No, it's going to the movies now for movies I don't normally see
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
am interested in.
Sure.
Uh, I think I said this, last year when I was on, but
Mhm.
I love the action movies, like comedies. But I saw a lot of things that were out of my wheelhouse this year, whether it was horror or more romance movies or even Disney movies, which I never watched.
Why do you think you did that?
I don't know. Something's changing in me, and I want to explore different genres. I feel like I've almost seen it all as far as comedies and what action movies can do.
Yeah.
So getting out of my wheelhouse is nice.
Would you say that it maybe mirrors your comic experience a little bit, like the way maybe you started with superheroes and then you started moving into stuff that was a little bit more complex?
Yeah, I mean, they say you move out of superhero stuff, you go towards independence, whatnot, and that's very true
Right.
for me too.
And I mean, like, even if they're not like indie, I mean, like, they're more independent for you than what you were
Right,
watching before.
right, right. It's not
Okay.
necessarily small town, films, but it's more of
Yeah.
different styles and genres.
So even though the genres like changed up a little bit, like again to kind of circle back, were there any that stood out? I mean, it doesn't have to be in a good way. I mean, they could be like terrible.
Yeah, I
Standout just means you remember it.
yeah. I mean, I think it was last year, but the Puss in Boots movie that came out, I that was early
Oh,
2023, I think.
I think it might have even been tail end of 22 because
Well,
that
if it
was
was,
that was a Christmas movie if I remember right. Like not like in content, but like when they released it.
maybe it was, but I guess that
Yeah.
sparked me to go forward. I like a lot of these new Disney movies and more of these animated styles, and
Okay.
I found a lot of superhero movies now to be very boring. Not that, not that
That
they
that
weren't
may or may
one
not
dimensional
come
before.
up tonight.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Yep.
But I kind of seen it all yet. So it's kind of
Okay.
interesting to see different takes.
All right. So the moral of the story is even though maybe one movie didn't stand out particularly, your movie viewing kind of stood out because you changed the type of things that you were watching.
Definitely.
So where do you think 24 to 25 is going to take you, or even if like, I mentioned it to some of the guests and I mean to you earlier, on in the year, but I'm trying to have more recurring guests this year, so maybe I'll see you again in 3 months. Do you think
Sure.
3 months from now, things will have changed drastically, or maybe we're going to lean harder into the out of the wheelhouse stuff?
I think I'm leaning harder into what I've been trying to do, out of my ballpark
Okay.
stuff.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I mean, I would say 2 out of the 3 of the movies that we're going to talk about are movies that I don't think would be in your wheelhouse normally. I'm happy to be wrong, but we'll see. And then the third one is we'll get there.
Yeah.
um, Bob Marley, One Love, right? Before I even ask you, what the trailer did for you, I have no problem, it's not a spoiler, I don't think. The type of movie this is a biopic, just front and center. When you hear the term biopic, what do you think? Like, what type of movie are you expecting to get?
I mean, a documentary style, something slower or more educational in a sense, for lack of better words. But
You think documentary style. Okay, that's interesting. Because I mean, for me, biopics, I almost feel like are trying to do like the opposite of a documentary because they're giving you the information, but they want to entertain you versus documentaries, which are just like, here's the information. We don't care if it's like as dry as a saltine.
right, right.
But that being said, this was a biopic.
Yeah,
What did this trailer do for you?
I thought the trailer was actually amazing. Uh,
Mm,
I'm a very big music fan. I mean, that's been my first love. You know, I
yeah,
love everything to do with music, but biopics and especially about musicians never did much for me. Surprisingly, I almost
yeah,
want their story through song.
yeah,
I didn't realize Bob Marley had a lot of interesting and like frightening things happen in his life. I thought it was I thought
yeah.
this trailer wowed me, to be honest. It was really well
Okay,
crafted.
okay. Did you get a sense for like how much of his life this movie is looking to try to capture?
It seemed very specific
Yeah.
to whatever those traumatic moments were, and then building his career around these moments. Uh,
Hmm.
I noticed that primarily. It didn't. I mean, I didn't see a lot of it as him as a kid through the trailer
Uh-huh.
or
Right.
that kind of impact, but from it
Hmm.
seemed to be more of one moment tied down.
Hypothetically, because I'm not ready to confirm or deny it, but let's for argument's sake say that they don't show like his childhood at all. Do you think that would help or hurt the movie?
I I guess it depends. If for me, if
Mhm.
the childhood directly impacts
Mhm.
why his situation is where it is, then yeah,
Mhm.
I think that would hurt. But if
Mhm.
for capturing this moment and how it propelled forward, I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
It's how they present it.
I think to take that one step further, let's say, for example, that you don't know a whole lot about Bob Marley, right? I can admit that I don't. So
Hmm.
going into a movie that is supposed to be a biopic about a character, how can I put this? Regardless of like because you or me don't know, what his whole deal is. Do you think do you think that if you're trying to capture a viewer like us who don't have that information, we should be getting like a fuller picture?
Yeah, I would say so. I would hope, they don't have to
Yeah.
spend an hour on it, but some
Yeah,
detail would be nice.
right. So, um, I think the best parts of this movie are the thing that you said you really like, which is the music, right? Um, there are definitely parts, for lack of a better term, where they do a little bit of lip syncing, which sucks.
Yeah,
But if the actor's a good actor and they just don't have the voice, you do what you got to do. Um, but I would say that this biopic was a snapshot. If Bob Marley lived 40 years, we got about six of them.
fair.
Um,
Okay.
I will say that compared to some other biopics, especially music ones, kind of like what you were saying, where they don't always do it for you, I can kind of agree with you insofar as they don't do it for me when they don't give me a full picture. When you give me a snapshot on somebody that I don't know, and you're trying to market this to people, right? Like, hey, I want to go see this movie so I can learn about this person.
Hmm.
It's probably a good idea to give you that, full experience. Like, even if, you don't hit every little detail, give us enough. Give us enough to
Sure.
like, you want to, zoom in on a few childhood moments. You want to, get some maybe adolescence, and then you want the movie to be the meat and potatoes of their life, which is probably adulthood,
Yep.
right? This movie did do slightly better than some of those other biopics where it did circle back to some stuff in the past with flashbacks, um, as they sort of pertained to the story, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It still wasn't enough though.
You don't think so?
What I'm saying, like based on what I saw, like
Yeah.
it still didn't give me like a full idea on who Bob Marley was. It just kind of would be like, hey, we're gonna answer this one question about Bob's history, and just you can wonder about the rest. Oh,
Yeah,
cool, thanks.
yeah, as a day in the life,
Um,
and yeah,
kind of almost. It was the back half of his life because he did die early on. That much I do
mhm,
remember. He
yep,
had a sort of untimely death. Um, so in that sense, the movie lost some points with me. But everything else that it focused on in the present, it did well. Well, his present anyway, not our present.
yeah,
But um, given that you are a music fan, you're dipping your toes into the, not so conventional. Do you think that this is something that you would watch? The one
yeah,
caveat I will say to you before you give me your full answer
yep,
is I would say that the music probably sounded better coming from Dolby stereo sound and seeing it on a big screen than watching it on a small screen.
yep.
But you tell me.
Uh, this was actually the movie out of the three that I would actively want to go see. Uh,
Okay.
the trailer, I don't know what it did. It did something for me.
Hmm.
The music's, going to carry me at least half the battle just to go see it. But
Hmm.
the trailer was really well shot. It's kind of the double-edged swords. Not knowing a lot about him may have hurt the movie,
Hmm.
but not knowing
Yeah.
a lot about him when I saw the trailer, it actually made me more
Yeah.
interested to go see it.
Yes. Yep.
So
I can I can see
I
that.
was pretty impressed by it. Out of
One
all three
one
of them,
tiny little addition, and this is kind of funny too because this wasn't planned, but yesterday you and I saw the Marvels at the same time,
yep.
and one of the characters from the Marvels plays Bob Marley's wife.
Really?
Yeah. Um. Uh. What is her name? Photon's mom
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
plays Bob Marley's wife, and she does a great job. She is a great
Very cool.
actress. Yeah.
What was the best role for you? Who stood out the most for you?
In this movie,
Yeah.
um, see, it's hard because again, like I don't know Bob Marley well enough to say that the characterization was right or wrong.
Hmm.
I liked the actor and acting for Bob Marley for what
Yeah.
I saw. But if I were to like watch a documentary about his life and find out he was totally different, then I'd have to be like, oh shit, this guy did him dirty.
Yeah. But from what you know, you enjoyed his
I
acting,
did, yeah. Yep. Um,
which is cool.
yeah, the actress's name is escaping me. I want to say it's Lupita Nyong'o, but I could be wrong. But she does great. Like, seeing her for more than, 5 minutes, like actually having to flesh out a role, she does good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think his mom ended up being a famous actress too. Um,
Oh,
that could be
interesting.
wrong. So this is the one that you said you would see the most though, more than likely.
It would, and that was the one I least
Okay.
expected to say too.
Okay. Well, if you find yourself bored on a weeknight with no plans, like I'd say it's worth the watch.
Yep, absolutely.
Um, that will segue us to the middle movie here, which mhm, this was Madam Web.
A burner of a movie. Yep,
The entire internet has about the same opinion on this movie, and normally I like to rock the boat and be different, but not just for the sake of being different because I think I have a different opinion. But
yep.
this is one of those times where I don't think I do. I know that I sent you the trailer for this, but I have a feeling that you'd already seen the trailer beforehand.
I have.
Um,
Yeah,
we're both comic fans. If anybody can't see Tom's collection of
yeah.
comic hard
Who would
covers
have thought?
behind us here, but what a what if any plot can you glean from that trailer?
There is a spider-esque character
Hmm.
fighting a clairvoyant. That's kind of all I got.
I mean, you're right. I mean, and you're smart, so I'm glad that you could glean that. I don't know if like non-comic fans who don't know, what they're looking at would be able to make that connection necessarily.
That's fair. I
Um,
mean, if I didn't know
mhm.
comics, I probably would have said there's a woman who could see into the future possibly,
Uh-huh.
and she has some girl sidekicks that fight people.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
kind of it.
the trailer for this one is definitely misleading. I mean, like normal Marvel will often put out trailers that are misleading as well, but
Yeah.
they're misleading in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. Like, hey, look, we're gonna show Bruce Banner running, and then oh crap, in the movie it's really Hulk. Okay, cool,
They
because
want
you
to hide
wanted to
the
throw
secrets, the
you wanted
surprise.
to throw us off, and you wanted to like avoid spoilers. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you like do stuff that blatantly makes people think one thing, and then the movie is in a totally different direction, it's not as nice.
No.
So I mean, this is, a spoiler for any who haven't seen this movie, but I'm sure it's out there everywhere. The three Spider Girls that aren't Madam Web are shown in their costumes in the trailer. I think that they are in costume for less time than the length of the trailer in the film. The film
That's
was
terrible.
1 hour and 58 minutes, to be clear. Um, so it's a
That's
lot of
terrible.
people running around without powers, sort of just letting happenstance and nature do their job for them in fighting the bad guy whose motivation is also very unclear. I think the trailer also kind of like is a little misleading with him too, because it makes it keep looking like he's changing age and nothing happens with that.
Nice. Okay.
So, um, the one thing that I will say, and I don't know if that would be the case with this film, for some people, but sometimes when a movie is widely panned, it actually invigorates people to go see it because they're like, is it so bad that it's kind of funny or cheesily good? Um, do you think that this one would inspire you in that way?
No. No.
No.
Uh, I'm a fan of terrible movies. I actually like seeing some of
Mm-hmm.
them that are just so outrageous you just can't help but to
Yeah.
watch. But
Yep.
just from the trailer, even though I'm a fan, I might be a little biased because I understand these characters, but it seems so uninspired and just boring.
It's
It
it
does.
it is, and again, I mean, last year I did the Marvels, and um there's a fair amount of division on the internet about that movie, and I definitely kind of came to that movie's defense, because I don't think that it's a bad film. I think that there are reasons why people won't like it. I can't do that this time. Madam Web, I would say is not arguably a bad film. It's
It is.
there's not really a target market or demographic for it. I don't know who it was made for or who it's
That's
meant
such
to
a
be getting in the seats.
that's such a good thought. Who is this made for? Who the phrase "who wants this" isn't good because no one wants anything really. Until new ideas are made. You didn't know you wanted something, but
Yeah.
who was this made for is just something I can't stop thinking about.
What's worse is I kind of fear for the actresses that were in this film. I hope that the negative feedback that it's getting doesn't drag down their careers. Like I hope people can distinguish good actors, but given bad scripts to work with,
Mm.
you know.
I'm sure they
But
were great. I'm sure their acting was, fine. Script aside and what they were given to say, might be a different story, but I'm sure they were okay.
yeah, they did the best they could with what they were given, which again, in some
Yeah,
scenes will make them look bad because of, if you're given shitty lines and you have to read shitty lines, they're going to come off shitty.
yeah,
Um, that doesn't make you a shitty actor. In fact, you might just be good because you somehow convey shitty lines in a good way.
yeah.
But uh, yeah. So I actually forgot to mention it. So I mean, after we talked about what's our first movie here tonight? Um,
That was Bob Marley.
yeah, Bob Marley, I gave 3.5 stars to. Madam Web gets a 1. Um,
Yeah.
it has very, very minor redeeming qualities, and they don't outweigh the bad by any means.
What is something you enjoyed about it?
Several of the actors that were in the film are actors or actresses that I like. Just
Ah,
seeing them, just
yep.
seeing them is nice. Again, like that's sort of why I said it doesn't mean that they did particularly well in the film, but you still like knowing that they're around and exist.
I had something, that's
Yeah,
it is something.
but in I feel like this term that you throw around sometimes. If something's if we're talking burgers here, right, and this the middle of it here is the
Yeah.
nothing of the nothing burger.
Yep.
Um, the buns were arguably better than what was in the center.
Yeah.
Um, so our last movie of the night is one that actually doesn't come out until tomorrow. At the time that people are seeing this, I mean it'll be out, but um, that's Ordinary Angels, which I caught in an early screening on Monday. Um, what did that trailer do for you plot wise? Like what did you think it was about based on what you were seeing?
I mean, I can't remember her role. Maybe she was a clerk or a hairdresser, but she's
Oh
helping. What did you say?
no, I only caught the first part of what you're saying. I thought you were asking who the actress was.
Oh no, no, I'm saying that's whatever profession she was, but they're
Oh yeah.
helping. I think they were helping. Like, I think it's a guy and his two daughters. I know. I think I got enough of it. I know it's kind of like a love story of sorts, but it was okay. It was okay. I'm not a big fan of the style.
Okay. So I would say like so just to flesh this out a little bit is I mean the film's called Ordinary Angels. I mean
Yep.
it's supposed to kind of be like a metaphor about, normal people that are do good things.
Yep.
And I mean the name itself kind of carries with it a religious connotation, but the
It
film
seems
itself
like it.
doesn't
Yeah.
the film itself didn't really have much in the way of religion.
Hmm.
I think this one was also a 2 hour film, and over the course of the 2 hours, God gets mentioned once, and they spend a couple of minutes in a church.
Hmm. Okay.
But on an hour and 50, like 6 minutes, that's not much. I mean, like real faith-based movies will really beat you over the head, with it.
Yeah.
Um, so our stars are Hilary Swank and Alan Richson. Hilary Swank's got a laundry list of things that she's in. I think
Yep.
Alan Richson's a little bit newer. He's been in what Reacher, I think.
Yeah. Reacher. He did some couple shows back in the day. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's definitely an up and comer. We were talking about this last night. He's might be getting keyed up to be Bruce Wayne in the what Brave and the Bold or whatever they're calling it.
Yep. I think
Um
that's right.
and honestly the truth is I was trying to convince somebody else that he could fit that bill, and I said if he could play a dad well in this movie, he might have a shot because like if you look at it through the lens of every other Batman who's never really done much fathering, like he doesn't seem like he fits the bill.
Right.
But if you think about it in terms of he's a big tough guy, but he's protective about his kids in a new Batman movie where he's set to have an established Bat family, that
Yep.
might work.
I think so too. And he looks good for the role. He has good acting range. I
Yeah.
like him a lot.
So the film itself is about him like losing his wife right at the start, and then he has to start contending with the fact that he has a daughter who's got I want to say kidney failure. I don't might have been non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or could have been leukemia.
Mm,
I don't remember if they outright say they might have said it once in the movie, and then the rest of the time you're just supposed to know that she's a very ill little girl. She's
right.
5 years old, and Hilary Swank's character like sees in the paper that this little girl's without a mom. She just lost her mom, and she's like, you know, the family's barely scraping by, and she has some problems of her own. And I think as a motivating factor to help kind of fix her own problems, she starts helping them. Um, at first with money, and then kind of like fundraising and kind of trying to help like on a bigger level. Like, hey, you've got like 400 grand in hospital bills that you're never going to be able to pay. Let's go to the hospital and like make this go away. Or like,
Right.
hey, you need this thing to get to this place. I'm gonna make it happen. She's just kind of like the I'm not gonna take it no for an answer woman. Um so there's that. You mentioned romance. Um, I don't really want to spoil anything. There's definitely chemistry between Hilary Swank and Alan Richson, and we're here for the chemistry. We're here for like the character development,
Mhm.
but the movie doesn't go in the direction that you think it's gonna go.
That's
Um,
interesting. I mean, I get
yeah,
the ordinary angels term, it makes sense,
yeah,
just helping out kind of thing, like the Good Samaritan.
mhm,
But
yeah.
I'm surprised that wasn't more of a front, I guess, or something that they pursued in the movie.
I think they really like want, they kind of laid out the message for you, and then, you know, the filmmakers may have been, more interested in subtlety. They don't want to like be
Right.
the type that like say, okay, every other line is going to be, we trust in God, we're faith-based, sometimes it's just like let's lay it out for you and let you draw the conclusions that you want to draw. So if at the end of the movie you get a happy ending, you could say it was because of people, or you could say it was because of God, or you could say it was both. And I don't think anybody would be wrong. It's sort of like
Yeah,
interpretive,
sure.
but I'm not saying they do have a happy ending. But,
Right.
you know, films like this.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, based on what you said earlier, theoretically, this means you would rate this second, you know, I mean, if we're going in like ascending or descending order, it sounds like it was like Bob Marley, Ordinary Angels, Madam Web.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Ordinary
Mhm.
Angels normally would be a movie for me that's on like in the third spot. Oh, Man and
Okay.
Web was just such
Yeah.
a stinker that it had to stay at the bottom
Yeah.
for what it
Yep.
was. But this
Uh,
is Ordinary Angels is definitely not my kind of movie.
yeah.
I think it's cute. The premise is nice. I
I
don't think there's anything
can
wrong with it. Just not my
I
cup of
can
tea.
imagine two scenarios where you would watch it.
All right.
So the first thing I'll say, not about which of the two scenarios, but this movie, I kind of feel like is supposed to fill the Easter movie, for the year. It's a little early, but
Mhm.
it like, I mean, if it holds out long enough, I mean, people will probably go see this on Easter because it's just close enough to being faith-based that people can go see it with their families and
Yeah,
get
it's
the
still a good
get
movie.
the tear-jerking feel goods.
Yeah,
Um, but that being the case, I would think that it would be either like with your significant other or with your family. Like are the two scenarios that I could see this coming up for you.
definitely. I think my significant other, she would enjoy seeing this. I'd
Yeah.
go see it,
And
to go with,
mhm.
but not by
Yeah.
my own means.
I mean, the this movie was actually supposed to come out last September, and then because of the strikes, it got bumped. Um, so I think that's part of the reason why I actually got to see it in a mystery screening, because I think they think it needs help, because it was already supposed to be out, and now it's just kind of like it's just going to come out and probably not do crazy numbers. I'd be shocked if it did, but I
If
don't know.
you didn't see it as a mystery thing, or if you weren't such a movie person, would you have gone and seen it by yourself? Like, still actively went and seen it based off a trailer or interest?
I did have it on my list to go see.
Yeah.
Or if you're saying if I wasn't such a movie person, would I have still gone and
Yeah,
seen it? Probably not. But then again, I probably wouldn't go see most of the things that I go see.
that's fair. That's fair.
Um, my real draw is I knew a movie like this. You could kind of you can point A and point B it and see. You can predict like the start and finish. A movie like this, I would go to see for the characters, like to see how the stuff plays out. Like how Alan and Hillary like interact with each other, like how they get to point B.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. I mentioned this to you last night, but one of the biggest
Mhm.
things about this that turned me off is I felt like I saw the whole movie
In
in
the
the
trailer.
trailer. Like, I feel like it showed me everything. I'm sure there's
You're
moments
not
that
you're
left
not
on.
wrong. I mean, again, like I said, like that trailer, like you could tell me how it starts and you could tell me how it ends. It's just the middle that's kind of like could go a couple places. And again, depending on what you think for the end, there is still like a little bit of room to be like thinking something is going to happen. And I can tell you for sure there's kind of one trope or stereotype that I was expecting that didn't occur. So there's some room for surprise, but
Yeah,
not. I mean, like the overall the big message and big ending, like it didn't. It was what you would think it would be.
yeah, for sure.
So, but I'm not going to say what that is because I want people, if they're so inclined to go watch it.
As they should. As they should.
So we've come to the end, and this part hasn't changed, but now you have to tell me what you're looking forward to seeing that is not yet out.
Love this. Monkey Man. I think that's the name of the movie.
Ooh,
It
I
looks
am
incredible.
super hyped for Monkey Man.
Me too.
So I wrote that one down before I'd even seen a trailer for it, just because
Hmm.
I had some nostalgia goggles and I thought like, oh wow, this premise reads just like they stole it from Hey Arnold. And then I saw the trailer a couple of weeks ago in the theater, and I was just like, bruh,
They did.
give me Monkey Man.
Yep. It's Monkey Man. It looks so good. It's Jordan Peele, isn't it?
It is, and Dev
He's a
Patel.
genius. Yeah, they're great. It looks
Um,
incredible.
for anybody watching that hasn't seen anything about Monkey Man, I would recommend you search that trailer. But it's like feels like Indian kung fu. Uh, um, it's
Great.
almost like somebody took like a Bollywood movie, but shot it through the lens of like the cameras that we use here because they they film them differently in India. Like their movies don't look the same as ours,
Hmm.
but they can have like similar premises.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
feel like somebody was like I'm gonna take an Indian movie and do it American style, and it looks great.
It feels like Bollywood Fight Club with really good camera work.
Pretty much, but you're still gonna get like probably the other things you would want out of a Bollywood movie, like the dance number. Like there's probably gonna be some kind of romance. Um, but yeah, the fighting is gonna be key.
Yeah. I
Indian Bruce Lee. There it is.
Perfect. Perfect. That's a
Yep.
great tagline. They should have sold
Yep.
me that way, and I still would have went and seen it too.
I'll be
It
sure to
looks
let
great.
you know let you know when it comes time for that one. Be like, all
Yep.
right, Tom, you ready for Monkey Man?
No, but no one asked you this. What's on your radar?
What's on my radar? What's on my radar? I have a
Yeah.
radar. Ghostbusters.
Oh
Ghostbusters
yeah.
is I mean like anytime I rent out a theater for a movie, I got to be really hyped for it, right?
Yeah.
Even if
Every
I'm
time.
just like very humble and like, oh yeah, Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters.
Yeah. It's Ghostbusters.
Um,
How can you go wrong?
and then after that, Deadpool, and then after that, Joker Folie à Deux.
Both of them are great.
I
They
like
sound
me a good
great.
musical, so
Yeah. Lady Gaga is Harley, and I think that's super interesting. That's a weird
we'll see.
cast. We'll
I'm
see.
not I'm not 100% confident in her ability to be Harley, but I'm confident in her ability to be kooky and like do weird stuff. So
She
even though
has
that
some
sounds
years.
like Harley, I don't know if she can do Harley.
I guess we'll find out. Didn't think Joaquin Phoenix to do a Joker, but
I do like Joaquin Phoenix.
it is great.
Well, thank you for spending time with me. Thanks for being on. We'll do this again real soon, and guys, we'll be back for another movies and minutes the next time there's some new movies to talk about. All right. I've been your host, friendly neighborhood comic book dude, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. See you.